Okay, picture this. You've just laid out what you thought was a totally foolproof case, only to watch it completely collapse under the slightest bit of pressure from a colleague, a client, or a critic. Why do some arguments stand like fortresses, while others just crumble like houses of cards? Well, today, we're going to fix that by looking at one of the most rigorous testing grounds for persuasion in the entire world.
Welcome to this explainer. Today we're focusing on demystifying some pretty dense, high-level debate theory and turning it into highly practical, structural models that you can actually use in everyday life. We're taking a deep dive into the anatomy of an argument exactly as it's taught in British Parliamentary, or BP, debate. BP is the format used at the World University's Debating Championship, and let me tell you, it demands incredible precision. We're going to extract the exact frameworks they use to construct arguments that are practically indestructible.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The ordinary intelligent voter. 2. The standard of proof. 3. The flexible IAE model. 4. The NAT imperative. And finally, 5. The RAAL integration.
Section 1. The ordinary intelligent voter. All right, let's dive right into this. Before we can even start building an argument, we have to know exactly who is on the receiving end. In BB debate, judges evaluate cases by adopting a very specific persona, and it happens to be the exact same persona you should be targeting in your own pitches. They call this persona the ordinary intelligent voter. Now, the ordinary intelligent voter reads the front page of the newspaper. They know basic concepts, like they understand that scarcity drives up prices, or that certain major historical events happened, but they do not possess deep, specialist, academic, or highly technical knowledge. This means you absolutely cannot rely on unexplained industry jargon, weird acronyms, or assumed expertise to do your heavy lifting. You must speak directly to this persona, which really forces you to be perfectly clear.
Section 2. The standard of proof.
So if we're speaking to this ordinary intelligent voter, what are the actual rules of engagement? Well, this quote right here, straight from the Cambridge Union Guide, is the ultimate standard of proof. It says, "No logical step can be taken for granted." Every part of one's analysis must be explained. When you're speaking to an intelligent but non-specialist audience, skipping a step is a fatal flaw in persuasion. You might think a connection is super obvious because, hey, you're an expert in your field. But to the listener, a skipped step just looks like a massive hole in your reasoning.
And the Cambridge Guide uses this brilliant Jenga metaphor to illustrate the danger of those holes. In BP debate, arguments are viewed like a competitive game of Jenga. Your substantive points are the bricks building your tower. But if you fail to explain a logical link, if you leave a gap in your reasoning, you're effectively building a tower with missing blocks, right at its foundation. Your opponents, or even just your skeptics, they don't need to knock down your whole tower. They just need to find that one missing logical link, pull the loose block, and watch your entire case collapse.
Section 3. The flexible IAE model. To prevent that Jenga collapse, we obviously need a structure. The IAE model is the most flexible form of argumentation out there. It strips an argument down to its absolute bare essentials. If you have these 3 central anatomy elements, you are presenting a cogent, coherent thought. Those 3 steps are idea, analysis, and evidence. First up, the idea. This is simply the concept or proposition you want to prove. Second is the analysis, which is the mechanism where you explain why your idea is correct. And third is the evidence. Now, the absolute crucial point here is that middle step, the analysis. The guide heavily emphasizes that you must relentlessly ask why. Why does your proposal lead to a good outcome? Why is that outcome even important? You have to mechanically map out those logical links before you ever resort to giving evidence. Remember, evidence validates reasoning. It definitely doesn't replace it.
Section 4. The NAT imperative.
Okay, so once you have that basic skeleton, you often need to propose a specific change or a policy. This is exactly where the NAT model comes in. It's all about creating a comparative analysis. It forces you to move logically from the current situation directly to your proposed intervention and finally to the resulting future. It's incredibly persuasive because it builds a powerful imperative for change.
NAT simply stands for now, action, then. Step 1 is now, the status quo. But you don't just describe the present. You must describe it in a way that provides a pressing reason, a real imperative to act. Step 2 is action, where you lay out exactly what your policy or proposal actually is. And step 3 is then, which is the final result of your action.
What makes NAT so incredibly powerful is the explicit comparison between the now and a then. Honestly, this is the most crucial stage of your argumentation. You have to prove exactly why the then is meaningfully better than the now.
You aren't just saying your idea is good in a vacuum, you are proving it is tangibly superior to the current reality. If you fail to draw this contrast clearly for our ordinary intelligent voter, they're simply going to default to the comfort of the status quo, and we definitely don't want that.
Section 5. The REL integration.
So, now we have our skeleton with IAE, and we've got our muscle with NAT. The real method is the full body that integrates everything together. This is often the absolute best way to incorporate deep subject matter into your claims. It layers reasoning and evidence in a sequence that provides maximum persuasive impact, ensuring that the ordinary intelligent voter follows you every single step of the way without getting lost.
REAL stands for reason, explanation, evidence, and link. You start with the reason. Think of this as a catchy, intuitive tagline that makes the listener instantly feel there's an imperative to act. Then you move to the explanation, where you answer why this reason is good. After that comes the evidence to validate your explanation. And finally, the link. This is where you explicitly connect this specific reason right back to your broader, overarching claim. You never ever want to leave it to the audience's imagination to figure out why your point matters.
Now, what's truly fascinating is how these models actually interact with each other. The NAT framework, the now, action, then, can be nested entirely within the explanation step of the EREL model. Seriously, if your explanation feels a bit weak, or if it needs more teeth to prove a comparative advantage, you just deploy NAT right inside of EREL. You give your catchy reason, then for your explanation you map out the now, the action, and the then. You follow it up with evidence and explicitly link it back to your main goal. It is an airtight structure.
Let's bring this all together. To summarize how we bulletproof an argument for the ordinary intelligent voter. First, do not take logic for granted. If you skip a step, your Jenga tower is coming down. Second, map your mechanical links using the simple idea, analysis, evidence skeleton by constantly asking why. Third, when you're proposing change, show clear comparisons using the now, action, then imperative. Fourth, wrap your entire pitch in the REL framework so it's super easy to digest. And finally, always explicitly connect your evidence back to your core claim. Stacking these structural models ensures you are entirely persuasive and incredibly clear.
Because really, understanding the anatomy of an argument isn't just for parliamentary debates. It is the ultimate blueprint for effective communication in any boardroom, classroom, or conversation. So, I'm going to leave you with this. Knowing that skip steps destroy credibility, how will you use AIE, NAT, and REAL to construct the anatomy of your next big pitch? Think about those loose Jenga blocks and start reinforcing them today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.